Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Wisconsin Weather Experts. It is Wednesday. We have a lot to talk about weather-wise across the country. We're going to focus in on the tropics here in a little bit because there's a new tropical storm.
Right.
A very interesting placement, too. It is in the Caribbean, so we'll get to that in just a little bit. But first, we're actually going to go back a little bit.
Yeah, I got to go back in time here. It was on this date in 1959 that a massive brush fire was raging out of control near Hollywood in the Los Angeles foothills.
Wow.
Flames threatening hundreds of homes, thousands of acres burnt. Families were forced to evacuate as the wind at that time drove that fire through the Hunga Canyon. You can see some of the video here from some of the fire mitigation efforts. This goes back to all of our old Fox Movietone News archives.
Yeah.
And again, that fire did a lot of damage, in an area very close to Hollywood, so there was quite the interest back in 1959 about what was going on there.
And even to this day, whenever anything gets close to that Hollywood sign,
Right.
it takes a headline for sure.
Absolutely does. And unfortunately, our friends out in California, the wildfire season is just kind of a way of life.
It is.
As you can see, that's been the case for quite some time, at least back to 1959, and I can guarantee well before that as well. But back here to the present.
Yeah, okay, so let's go to the tropics now. So Tropical Storm Melissa formed in the Caribbean yesterday, dumping heavy rain on Haiti, Jamaica, as well as Puerto Rico. Now, a pro baseball game in the Dominican Republic was already canceled. This is the 13th named tropical storm of the season with sustained winds of 50 miles per hour. A hurricane watch went into effect for southern Haiti as parts of the area received nearly a foot of rain.
Wow.
Heavy rain in the Caribbean islands still expected to last through Friday. So this, just was named yesterday. So you can imagine how it is likely going to linger here for some time.
Right.
Now, this is what it looks like on infrared satellite. You're basically looking at that big old red blob.
Right. Pretty
as you
well
can see.
organized for
It
an early
is.
stage at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it is kind of right there in the middle. Here's the track on it right now. So it is a tropical storm. Hold on, I'm going to go back so that I can get the official stats. There you go. Had to pause it there.
Right.
Okay, so Tropical Storm Melissa, it has max sustained winds of 50 miles per hour right now, and it's barely moving. And so now as I put this in motion, you'll notice over the next couple of days how it just meanders. You know, it moves very slowly, but it is also forecast. I don't know why this graphic jumped. Sorry, you guys.
Jumping. That's okay.
You'll notice how it is forecast, at least from the National Hurricane Center at this point, to become a hurricane. And it could very well this weekend really impact parts of Jamaica,
Right.
that small island that you see there. But past that, it's really interesting because, number one, it's moving so slow, not expected to make direct landfall anywhere. It's uncertain what will happen next.
Right, we'll see what happens. In the waters of the Gulf are very warm. That's one of
Yes.
the key ingredients to making tropical systems. And typically they'll eventually turn north and northeast.
Right.
So depending on how far to the west this does get before it makes that turn, it could impact the U.S., which would be the first of the tropical season. But like you said, we're at M, we're at 13 named storms. So it did end up being a very active season, even though very few of them, none of them, have made direct landfall. Indirect, with a lot of damage in the mid-Atlantic and the East Coast, but haven't had actual landfall. This might be it, but we'll hope for the best with that.
Yeah.
We're going to go way far away from the Caribbean, take you back to Alaska. Authorities in Anchorage, Alaska are still working to get hundreds of evacuees shelter after Typhoon Halong. The remnants of that typhoon wiped out several villages in western Alaska. And this was back on the 11th. So this has been making weather news now for a good 10 or 11 days. So according to the State Department of the Military and Veterans Affairs, more than 300 people stayed at Anchorage shelters Monday night. Authorities say more evacuees could make their way to the city as the damage is being assessed. Wow.
Yeah, our hearts go out to them. And now moving ahead to, this is a look in Detroit, where parts of a large tree came down yesterday, smashing at least one vehicle. Thankfully, no injuries, but I mean, you can see from the video here, that was, but a decently large tree branch.
Yeah, no doubt.
Now, along with the branches and traffic lights coming down, Detroit's outage map shows more than 8,500 customers without power scattered across southeast Michigan.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So we just got rain here yesterday, but other parts, east of us, states
Right.
east of us, saw some thunderstorms. And
As that
decent
went through, it
storms.
kind of hit and picked up in portions of Michigan, and then, of course, in parts of Indiana as well. Check out this ominous-looking picture from Valparaiso. You probably say that better than I do,
You
because
can just say Valpo. It's
Valpo,
easier.
that's of course where Steph went to college. Yeah, Valpo, Indiana. So it shows pretty dark clouds mixed with some fall foliage in an area golf course. Northwest Indiana experienced some pretty similar weather to us in Wisconsin yesterday, with periodic rain, strong wind, and even some thunder, which we didn't really get too much of that. We got some of that grapple, but they definitely had stronger storms farther to the east and southeast. But what a dramatic looking picture. It almost looks like a screensaver.
I know, exactly. It is amazing whenever the sun comes out, those clouds just, optical illusion, it looks so much darker, but
it is fascinating.
Love Valpo. That's where I went to school.
We spent at least good 4 years there,
right? Now, our golf team golfed at the Aberdeen golf course, so I don't know if that's the one.
Well, that might be it.
I was like, did a student take that picture? I'd love to know.
Maybe. You have to go back for homecoming and get the details on that one.
It's been some years.
But we're going to go from Indiana back out east, back to Jersey, right?
Yes, so you can see video here. Some lanes were closed on area roads in this area due to wires down, also from some of those strong winds that they dealt with. It's just another example of what a lot of spots have been dealing with over the last couple of days when it comes to some of these strong winds.
Right out in Cherry Hill Township, New Jersey. We're going to stay in New Jersey now as well. Listen to this.
Really neat. I wish my grandkids were here to watch it, because they would love seeing him come by and dump the truck. I don't know how big that drop is, but they have a lot of work to do before the summer or before the next storm. Yeah, so hopefully they'll keep coming back.
Yeah, they're going to keep coming back because they have a big problem with beach erosion. They released a preliminary assessment of the beach and dune damage following that monster nor'easter that was making headlines for quite some time. And they say the final report will be posted on their website. An Ocean City spokesperson says they're working with local, state, and federal partners to secure funding for a scheduled beach replenishment project with the Army Corps of Engineers. You can see that drop off.
Yeah, that's going to
very steep.
That's going to take some time. But I know, like we've already mentioned, they've been working on it. So hopefully the weather continues to cooperate.
And that nor'easter was intense. It was a double barrel, so they just kept getting hit and getting hit. So we'll be listening to that and watching that story as it continues to develop.
Yes.
But back here at home, we're going to get hit with a wake-up call.
Oh, we are.
Yes,
Temperature-wise. Oh, my
no.
goodness. Yes, it's been a chilly couple of days already. The cloud cover, the sprinkles right now does not help, but we're talking more so in the next couple of days, the next couple of mornings, we could have some frost and potentially even some freeze in parts of southeast Wisconsin. So we'll get to temperatures next. But first and foremost, here's the latest look at what some parts of Wisconsin are dealing with at this hour. We've got the extensive cloud cover. It's windy, it's chilly. Now starting to see a few sprinkles, Fond du Lac, Sheboygan, Dodge counties. And as we broaden the view again, you can also see it across northern parts of Wisconsin on into the UP. And then some of the steadier and more substantial rain, think of what we saw yesterday, that's now across the lake into Michigan State, Ohio, a good chunk of the Great Lakes region, again, dealing with this low pressure system that's been pretty slow moving. It continues to track its way eastward here, eastward that is, but you can still see we're on the western edge of it. So we'll have some cloud cover today, again, maybe a few sprinkles from Minneapolis into Milwaukee, we'll say, but then tomorrow, a lot of that cloud cover will really start to move eastward. We should see more sunshine across the state, and the upcoming weekend is looking really good for us here locally, but towards the weekend, New England states will likely still be dealing with the tail end of this low pressure system. Look at some of these pockets of rain too, especially New England. Maine is dealing with some steady rainfall there, as well as western New York. So there's at least a little bit of rain and thunder still within that storm system, and that's one of the more active areas across the U.S. right now. It's actually fairly quiet with the exception of the Great Lakes region and soon to be New England states. But also look at towards the southwest now after a little bit of a dry stretch. Before or after, again, a very rainy stretch, some rain has actually returned to parts of New Mexico, as well as Arizona and Utah, California. You can see the mountains more so looking at more of that snow at some of the higher elevations, which is great. That's what they want this time of year. With the fact that we have this storm system still impacting the Great Lakes region, we are the ones with a very strong wind right now. We already talked about how much wind damage there was across the Great Lakes region, as well as out east from this low pressure system. Our current wind gusts, especially lakeside, are still over 30 miles per hour. You can see it Sheboygan down to Racine, as well as Waukesha, and it's getting better out towards the west, but most of the state of Wisconsin, Illinois, and then areas out east are still dealing with some of these very strong wind gusts. So we're still expecting through the rest of the day today, these areas, again, Wisconsin, Illinois points towards the east, to see gusts between 20 and about 30 miles per hour. But notice, heading into Thursday, the wind really decreases out west into Minnesota. Here locally, we still could have some gusts between 15 and 20 miles per hour, but then Thursday night into Friday, as that system really pushes eastward, we'll finally get a break from some of this really strong wind. So it's coming, but just know today remains windy, and even parts of tomorrow just a little bit on the breezy side. The rain is pretty much out of here locally by later on this afternoon, and we're really not expecting much, just a few sprinkles or a light passing shower from time to time. Notice in northern Wisconsin, though, if there is still some lingering precip early tomorrow morning, it could very well be a little bit mixy because those temperatures are really going to drop. Now later Thursday, we really see this cloud cover pushing eastward with that low pressure. So sunshine is back in the forecast for Friday, at least in Wisconsin. You'll notice on the other side of the lake, there will likely be lake effect clouds, maybe even some lake effect showers with the northwest wind. But here we are shaping up to see a really nice weekend. And I know it's trick-or-treating for a lot of spots, at least in our area locally, likely across much of the state. So if you are trick-or-treating Saturday or Sunday, it's looking very seasonal, very normal temperatures in the forecast. Now, speaking of temperatures, right now, most of us are on the chilly side. We're only in the 40s in southeast Wisconsin, and the entire state is feeling the chill. Temperatures from here will remain pretty steady in the 40s, so keep the jacket handy across the entire state for the remainder of today. It, of course, is going to be even cooler up towards the north, where highs today may only be in the low 40s for places like Rhinelander and even over to Duluth. The middle portion of Wisconsin, middle and upper 40s expected for high temperatures. Towards the south, there are still some 80s. Out west, more 60s. So once we get this system out of here, we in Wisconsin will gradually see more of those upper 50s and low 60s back in our area late in the week and on into the weekend. But look at some of these temperatures for tonight. I mean, across a good chunk of the central and northern portions of the U.S., going to be on the chilly side. In fact, look at how many spots are now under frost or freeze headlines. There are even some freeze watches across parts of Ohio, including the Cincinnati area. Now, most of our frost advisories for Wisconsin out towards the west. Remember, northern Wisconsin has already had their freeze, so they're not going to have any of these headlines anymore. But those of us in southeast Wisconsin haven't quite seen it yet. That being said, especially tomorrow night, I think we are looking at frost and freeze here in our area. Now, northern Wisconsin on average has their first freeze late September. So again, they already saw their first freeze anyway. They were pretty much right on schedule. The rest of us, it usually is mid to late October that we start to see some of these cooler freezing temperatures. So I would say we are pretty much on track. In fact, climatologically speaking, in Milwaukee, our average first freeze is today. Now, we're not going to see that freeze more than likely. It'll likely be inland tomorrow night, but something, again, just to keep in the back of your mind, we are nearing that time of year where it becomes more and more likely. So cover those plants just to be safe. Bring them inside.
Right.
If not tonight, then especially tomorrow night.
Right. You probably spent a lot of money on those beautiful hanging baskets,
yes,
right?
Exactly.
I mean, people put a lot of joy and pride into those. So get them covered up, bring them in, keep them safe. We don't want them, going to waste too quickly.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take you over to Italy now. Cheap little vacation right
let's
here,
go.
courtesy of Fox Local. But I don't know that you're going to want a vacation there. Look at that. Wow, heavy rain triggered some severe flooding in one of Italy's coastal cities yesterday. This is aerial footage showing the streets and the homes being swallowed by the rising waters. Fire crews carried out more than 40 rescues as rivers threaten to overflow. Another wave of storms is expected to hit northern Tuscany today.
Wow.
And now we're going to take you to France. Just happened to stumble on this video also from 1959. When I was looking at the brush fire video, this caught my eye, and then I did a little Googling, and I found out that it was today in 1959, one of the best years in wine history played out. Yeah, wine harvest time in France is what you're looking at there. 1959 has been called the vintage of the century. Yeah, French vineyards, there we go, were bursting apparently with grapes after having perfect summer growing conditions and producing record quality and quantity, sparking a wine boom here in the United States because, of course, if we heard it was going to be that good, we wanted to get in on it, and that was the best of the 59 crop that you're seeing right there.
Do you think we could still find a bottle from 1959?
I think you'd have to break open your wallet pretty wide if you did, but I'd never heard anything about that before, but I thought
Rob
it was a really cool video.
That one. Rob will buy on this bottle.
Right.
I'll get the next one.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Let's take a live look outside right now before we head to break. We've got a great interview coming up with a pretty incredible photographer. You'll want to stick around for that. Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts. Well, we all want to inspire kids to love science, but not every child connects through textbooks or labs, and that's where a new book comes in. It's called Phenomenal Moments, Revealing the Hidden Science Around Us by MIT science photographer Felice Frankel. Now, Rob had a chance to chat with Felice about the book. Check it out.
I am joined by Felice Frankel, and you are, among other things, an author. Of course, you're a scientist as well, and you have a brand new book. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, Rob, thanks so much for having me. It's a joy to be with you, really.
So tell me, it's called Phenomenal Moments. Tell everybody what the premise is behind this.
Yeah, so I have been making images of science from laboratories for over 30 years, and throughout my time, I sort of kind of take pictures of what I see about everyday phenomena as science, because really, Rob, everything we see is science.
Very true.
Yeah, but the issue is that people don't really see it and know it that way. And I think they're afraid to look at science. And I think that's one of the reasons why, let's just say, we're in the trouble we're in. There's a ton of miscommunication about science. It's not trusted. So my whole thing a couple of years ago was, let me try to get the kids, the younger people, to understand how gorgeous science is and create something that will engage them to ask questions. So it is,
Okay,
yeah, so
that
it's
makes sense.
basically a book of pictures of ordinary things,
Hmm.
but it's a kind of a guessing game
Okay,
because
so are these like super close-ups? Like, what makes it a guessing game? It's not an obvious picture right away?
it's not obvious, exactly. So it's you first see a piece of a picture and you're asked, what do you think this is? You turn the page and you see the whole picture, which still might be unusual because I tend to photograph, let's just say abstractly, perhaps.
Uh-huh.
And so I explain the moment that I made it, why did I make the picture, and more important, is the science that you're seeing. But I'm using language that is accessible, not a whole lot of big words. And what I want to do is engage the reader to sort of pay attention to the world around them. And then the best of all worlds would be for them to share it with their parents and their grandparents. I
Yes,
mean, in
well, and kids are the best teachers, and they're also the best folks for like getting a message out. Once they're excited about something, they like to tell everybody who will listen. Is that kind of why you targeted them? Because you know that they'll pass it along?
exactly, you nailed it. And also the fact is I'm a grandparent. I have two amazing grandchildren, and they're just about the age where the book is intended. When I started the book, it was for young adults. It's called a young adult category, but I mean it for young people and for their parents as well.
There you
And
go. So you could sit down maybe with a smaller child and just go through the pictures with them and just kind of touch on the science, or with an older kid, you could really dig in.
exactly, you exactly. And what I kind of hope is, and this is a kind of a long shot, the hope is that they're so interested in what they see in the book that when they walk around their house or their park, they start recognizing, oh, I've seen that in Felice's book.
There you go.
I know what that is. And even better, and this is really the longer shot, for them to make their own picture of what they're seeing.
I love that idea. And in this day and age, they can start their own website or their own
Yeah,
YouTube channel or whatever they want with
you
that.
got it.
There
Exactly.
you go. And it does, there is something that can be sometimes a little abstract about science, but when you give it that reality, like you're doing with your pictures, it certainly is much more contagious and kids grab onto that very quickly.
I'm so happy you get it.
Yeah.
And it really is, I'm kind of getting back to this issue of people are afraid to delve into science because, frankly, I am taking responsibility along with the research community. I don't think we're doing a good job of engaging the public in what we do in the laboratories. And in my opinion, we're not using the right language. I think the language is in images.
There you go.
Everybody, and everybody is, no one is afraid of looking at a picture and asking a question about it. So
There you
that was
go.
a kind of a manipulation of some sort, but
Yeah.
I hope it works.
No, I love it. I think that's a really good point, and I think it's very fair to say, as someone who is a scientist and a communicator, obviously working in television, pictures are important, but the way we tell our scientific story is so vital because if we don't communicate it properly, it can be misunderstood, and then that erodes our trust.
Exactly. And you as a meteorologist knows that you can tell something about something is going to happen, and then sometimes it doesn't happen.
Right.
And that's what science is about. It is about collecting data and then making a prediction of some sort, but that can fall apart, and that's okay because eventually that's the way we gain more information by our predictions not working out. It's kind of teaching the whole scientific approach that
Right.
we are here to investigate, and maybe if this doesn't work, something else will work. I mean, that's not exactly what I go into with the book. It's a little,
Sure.
but I'm trying to engage a conversation. That's the whole reason for doing the book.
Great. It sounds fantastic. We've got some pictures that we're going to share as part of this interview. I can't wait to dig into the book. I do have a question, though. I hope there's a picture of you in the book.
Nope.
No, not even on the back cover.
No.
Oh,
I have a thing. This is my baggage. I don't want anybody to make a judgment about the book by looking at a picture of me. It is not about me. It's about the science of what I photograph.
oh,
So,
well, I was hoping there was because I'm hoping that young women, young girls will see a picture of you on the book and get excited about growing in the STEM fields. We've done a good
oh,
job at expanding, but we can still do more.
oh, you know what? You're right. Yeah,
Well,
that,
this interview will do the trick. Get the book, remember the interview, and all those little young women and young girls that are out there want to get sciencey. You can be just like Felice. Thank you so much for taking time to be on the show today.
thank
I look
you.
forward to sharing it and sharing the book further with our audience.
Terrific. Thanks so much.